Hello guys, it's HZ12 and today we're going to be doing the support weapons tier list. Last time I did the Firebug tier list and now we're on to the support weapons. And when I looked at the support weapons tier list I realised support has quite a lot of weapons. I actually forgot some of them existed, so yeah, we're going to be here a little while. Well, anyway, starting off with the AA12, this is definitely an S tier for me. Just absolutely destroys like any Z, just rips through absolutely anything. It's also full auto as well, which means you can just hold the trigger down and just fire like endless rounds. In slow motion as well, it's really effective against like any ability, to be honest. You can use any level 25 ability on support and the AA12 will still work quite well. It does have a lot of ammo. It does slightly burn for ammo if you're not careful, but you do still have loads of ammo spare, so it is a little bit expensive, but it is really worth it once you get it. It can only be upgraded once, but again, it is worth it. And next up is the Blunderbuss. I would honestly put it in B tier. I mean, it's not bad. You also get like an explosive launcher with it, because the main fire mode for the Blunderbuss is the explosive, which doesn't have that big of a range. It does fall off quite quickly, but you do get a shotgun secondary, which does deal quite a lot of damage. I think this can be upgraded about once or twice, so it is quite powerful. I mean, to be fair, I would prefer this on the Demolitionist because it is mainly an explosive weapon, but overall it isn't that bad of a weapon. And coming up next is everybody's favourite support weapon, the Kaboomstick. Not the HRG version which fires explosive rounds, the regular double-barreled one. I would give this one, I'm actually going to put this in S tier. The Boomstick can be upgraded multiple times. It can be upgraded up to 3 times and it does do a lot of damage. Not the most effective against larger Zeds, but it can wipe them out quite quickly along with any other Z. It has a lot of ammo as well, and the alt fire allows you to go flying backwards, which is good for getting out of any bad situation. If you end up getting grappled by the Matriarch, you can just blast her away with the alt fire. You end up going flying, it means you don't get hit. It's really good for that because support can be a bit slow if you're over encumbered, so having a Kaboomstick to get you out of that situation would be quite nice. And coming up next is the HM Tech 301. I would have to give this a A tier. One good thing about the 301 is that it is a medic weapon, which means you can fire darts to heal your teammates whilst also doing a lot of damage to other Zeds. It's a really good support weapon in that sense because you can heal your teammates and also provide support for your team. It's really the best of both worlds. It can be upgraded about once or twice and it does have quite a lot of ammo, but it doesn't really feel as effective as the other support weapons like the AA12 or the Kaboomstick, but it is still a really good multiplayer weapon. If you're a support looking to play multiplayer, then this will be a weapon for you because you can just heal teammates and you can do a lot of damage. And coming up next is the HRG Buckshot, the single one, which I'm going to have to put into C tier. I much prefer the dual versions of pistols, that way you get higher rate of fire, more ammo, but the single one isn't bad. It is a good backup weapon. Not the strongest against like larger Zeds like flesh pounds, but it is a good backup weapon in case you run out of ammo. It's actually quite light as well, so you can carry it along with other support weapons because the support has the most storage out of any perk. You can have up to 20 units of space with the support, so you can technically take 3 weapons if you use the Buckshot. But yeah, it's not the most strongest thing in the world, but again it is a good backup weapon. And coming up next is the Dragon's Breath Shotgun, which we're actually going to put into C tier. The Dragon's Breath Shotgun is quite good at clearing out groups of Zeds like clots or stalkers. Against the larger Zeds though, it's not very good. It is better on Firebug, but I'm afraid it's not really that good on support. It will end up enraging Scrakes and enraging Flesh Pounds. I would honestly prefer this on Firebug, but it's no better on Firebug, although it does have quite a lot of ammo and it does have quite a nice spread. You can set fire to multiple Zeds at once, so I suppose that's something. And coming up next is the M4 Combat Shotgun, which I'm actually going to put into A tier. It's not a bad weapon, it's a really decent backup weapon in case you're main shotgun runs out of ammo. It has a lot of ammo and it can be upgraded multiple times. If it had a bigger magazine, I would like this a bit more, but it is actually quite decent. It's good at clearing out small Zeds and also Skrakes as well. Not exactly a flesh pound killing weapon, but it is pretty decent. And next up we have the SG500, which I'm going to put in D tier. It is a starting weapon for the support, so of course it is going to be the weakest out of all of these support weapons. But it isn't a bad starting weapon actually. I'd say it's one of the best starting weapons a perk can have. But it just isn't that strong when it comes to the later game when you get larger Zeds and more powerful Zeds. So it is a good starting weapon. It can actually be upgraded like 4 times as well. It has loads of ammo, but it's just not that strong. You may as well work your way up to the M4 or maybe the AA12. And coming up next is the Vlad-1000 Nailgun. And I'm actually going to give this an A tier. It has really good penetration. It can basically go through any Zed. It can kill larger Zeds like flesh pounds pretty quickly. It can also kill Skrakes quite quickly. It can be upgraded multiple times. It does have a lot of ammo. There's also a single fire mode where you can fire single nails, so that's pretty cool. If you want to save your ammo instead of using the other fire mode, you can just use the single fire. There is quite a lot of uses with a nail gun. It is quite a decent weapon, although I feel like there is stronger weapons you can go for, but it definitely isn't a bad weapon at all. And next up we have the HZ12 Multi-Action, which I mean, I'm gonna have to give it a B tier. It feels a bit awkward to use because you fire like 2 shots and then you cock it and then you shoot it again and then you cock it. And it's just weird because like you shoot 2 shots and then you have to like wait for it to reload and then you have to shoot 2 shots again. It just feels weird to me. But it is quite effective, but for me it's just not the most powerful thing out there. It is good at clearing out like small Zeds. I would honestly use something a bit better, something with a bit more consistency, because the shots just feel a bit inconsistent with the HZ12, but it isn't a bad weapon at all. And coming up next we have the Doomstick, which I'm going to put into S tier. There was actually a funny glitch about a few weeks ago with the Doomstick. Basically you could shoot like multiple pellets at once and it would just absolutely destroy everything, but of course Tripwire patched it, and yeah, it's not as good as it used to be before it was broken, but it is still a decent weapon. It still does a lot of damage to Zeds as well. It is a little bit expensive and it does weigh a lot, and it is the most heaviest out of all the support weapons, but it is really worth it, although you do sort of burn through ammo quite quickly. That's the only real issue with the Doomstick, but it is very powerful, very effective, and definitely worth your money. And coming up next is the dual Buckshots, and just like I was saying before, I do prefer the dual version, so I am going to put these slightly higher in B tier. With the dual versions you not only have more ammo, but you've also got higher rate of fire, and for me there's just more ammo, a lot more consistency. Although again, the dual Buckshots are nothing special. They do okay damage, but they're not quite as effective as like an A tier or an S tier weapon. It can be upgraded multiple times, and like I said before, they do have lots of ammo. But again, there's just better things you can go for, to be honest. And coming up next, we have the FAMAS Masterkey. To be fair, I'm gonna have to give it like the bottom of C tier. It isn't a bad weapon. It actually has a shotgun attachment, like a shotgun alt fire you can use, but the only issue is the alt fire barely has any ammo. The FAMAS is mainly like an assault rifle, a burst fire assault rifle, which is originally for commando, so to be fair it is more of a commando weapon, but the shotgun alt fire can be used on support. It's just not really that effective. The burst fire mode on support also doesn't really work unless you're clearing out like small Zeds. Against larger Zeds like flesh pounds, it's just not really going to be that effective. I would recommend using this weapon more on commando, as it is mainly a commando weapon. But yeah, the alt fire, it is good and all, but just nothing too special. So coming up next is the HRG Blast Brawlers, which I actually forgot this was even a thing, to be honest. There's just that many support weapons. But yeah, the Blast Brawlers, I would actually have to put in B tier. I was surprised when I tested this weapon out because it is actually quite strong. Although, yeah, it's just not really that effective. It is really good at clearing out like medium to small Zeds, but against like larger Zeds it does sort of struggle a bit. And melee weapons aren't really the support strong suit, they're more of like a medium to long range. So yeah, if you are going to use this weapon, I'd probably recommend using it on Berserker. I think it'd be much better. You can also parry with the blasters as well, and of course Berserker does have that ability which allows you to get extra damage. So yeah, I would honestly recommend these on Berserker, if anything, but they are still quite good on support. And coming up next, we have the S12 Shotgun. And I'm going to have to give this a A tier. It is surprisingly quite strong. The S12, it's trying to be like the AA12 in a way. It just doesn't really feel like that. But it is quite strong. It also has like a shock alt fire, which just shocks any Z around you. It's really good for getting out of any situation. Although the shock fire can be a bit buggy and it doesn't really work sometimes. But again, it is really good at getting out of any bad situation. And moving on to the Ballistic Bouncer, I would have to give this a C tier. It isn't a bad weapon, it just doesn't really feel like a support weapon. It feels like the odd one out compared to the other weapons because it isn't really a shotgun, it's just a ball which you fire at Zeds. Although you can bounce the balls off walls and hit Zeds, so that's pretty cool. The S12 Shotgun also feels like it burns through ammo for me. You can hold down the trigger and make like a large ball, which does do good damage, but again I just feel like the weapon burns through ammo. It's not really that effective against larger Zeds like flesh pounds. There is just much better things you can have, but it is a good like trash clearing weapon. But then again, there's just better trash clearing weapons you can use, like the Dragon's Breath and the Buckshot. And finally, last but not least, we have the Frost Fang, which I'm actually going to put into S tier. The Frost Fang is the best of both worlds. You have a melee attack, which means you can hit Zeds at close range like a Berserker. You can even parry Zeds like the Berserker. The Frost Fang you can also freeze Skrakes with as well. It does a lot of damage. It is basically good for every kind of situation. The Frost Fang can also be good for Berserker, but again I would probably prefer it on support because it is mainly a support weapon. But if you're going to use it on Berserker, the parrying and the melee attack will be quite good, along with the freezing ability for the Skrakes. So overall, the Frost Fang is a really strong weapon. It is good for every situation. But anyway, this was the support weapons tier list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do let me know down below. This is where I'm going to end it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tier list videos. Join the Discord if you're new, and I'll see you in the next tier list video.